I'm Kathleen Staton with Ars Lyrica, and I'm here center stage with two incredible singers, Ceci Duarte, mezzo-soprano, and Camille Ortiz, soprano. Both of these incredible, dynamic, flexible stars are joining us on our Crossing Borders program in just a week's time, and I want to welcome them both. Have you two worked together very much?
Yes. Well, I think the first time we worked together was in Agrippina. That's when we met.
Yes.
But then last year, when this concert was supposed to happen,
right,
we had an alternate plan, and we recorded this.
And I was so grateful for that because all the gigs were canceled, and thank the Lord Almighty for our
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorite concerts during the pandemic. That it was so beautiful program, and we sang together. It was only the two of us.
The choice for the programming was very tender, nativity. I mean, of course it was a Christmas concert and it was titled Comfort and Joy, but it was, you could really sense kind of like that magic and sparkle in the music, and it was just really lovely, and yeah, that's the time. And then we sang that Bach duet, remember? We
so
sang,
much fun.
I know, the Gazette. And we're going to be dancing together with this program also.
Oh, yeah.
I've been practicing this whole stuff like this, you know.
Lots of up-tempo stuff. Yeah.
I know. It's just so much fun.
And this isn't your typical Christmas program, though, right? This is a very different Christmas program, and it's one that Matthew has been quoted in many quirky ways in his interviews as describing, because he mentions that Jesus and Christmas, of course, go together, but that these texts contain so many other nods to festivals and celebrations that it's really sort of a universal celebration that's coming to us. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, of course, if you're going to learn a piece of music, you have to read about it and really internalize the text. But a lot of this is so much fun. It's kind of tying up the nativity with everyday life and food, because what's a festivity without food? And kind of, you know, this program is from 17th, 18th, so 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, and a lot of this is from the Renaissance, and so it portrays the joy, but tied together with an excuse for partying, because in general, you know, Christmas is just kind of we party, you know.
Yeah, I really love it's very quirky because it has a lot of different elements. There's songs about love. Mm-hmm. You know, like and about a broken heart, right? There's like ay triste que vengo, right? Like I'm so sad, and like, oh, what am I gonna do? And I went to the market, and you know, I can barely function. Very nowadays, you know, like we can relate to that too. But yeah, as Camille said, you have like these pieces like Hoy comamos y bebamos, you know, which is like a piece that was made for Fat Tuesday, right? So it's like, let's stuff our bellies and let's party hard, because tomorrow we're gonna fast.
Right.
We're gonna behave.
And Ceci, you sang that piece as part of one of our outreach programs, didn't you?
Yeah, it's one of the hits, one of the standard hits in the program, because you know, kids and people of all ages love it. It's very, you know, it's like a dance, you know, and we make the kids like move around, like, you know, like, hey, you know, have your hot chocolate.
Should we warn our audiences that that's what's going to happen at this? Are you going to make everyone stand up?
I would love to see people move along as we sing, because that, I mean, this music specifically is very rhythmic. It
really is. I think we're going to be dancing, so we might inspire people.
Yeah, be warned.
I've been practicing in front of the mirror, and I usually do in general, but you know, I'm like, okay, does this look weird, you know, if I do this? Because you can't just sing it. We have percussion, we have Jesus. Oh, it's so funny. There's a piece called Jesus, and I said, oh, this is Jesus. You know, we're calling his name over.
Yeah, I love that duet. I love it. It's like imitation duet, right? Like you start, I follow, and it's just so beautiful. It's angelic. I love it.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, we've had the great fortune to learn a lot about Spanish Baroque music because of the Originess outreach program that Ceci and Jesus have done. And doing a lot of the research for the curriculum for that, a lot of the tradition originated, of course, in the Spanish Renaissance Church. So we're talking polyphonic, sacred music. Nothing says art song about Renaissance Spanish music or Spanish Baroque music. And yet the seed of this style traveled to the New World, crossing these borders. And then just like a plant, right? When you take seeds to other places, they change and they evolve based on where they're planted. And so these incredible songs, these villancicos and other art songs that have developed have been featured on other programs, right? Like Goya's World. And,
Yeah.
and we're seeing more and more of these. Can you tell us a little bit about the evolution of that very classical genre into something more representative of, would you say folk music or something in between common and classical?
Well, I think that's when the fusion started to happen, when all of these composers from Spain came over to the American continent. The music was a tool that they used to bring Christianity to everybody that was living there. And so that was one of the ways that they did it. And one of them was precisely using, like the kind of rhythmic and uh, patterns that people over here used to do in their own music. And so that's how things started to blend, so they could also feel like part of it and get closer to the church, right? And so that's why like Hoy Comamos y Bebamos is a perfect example, because it's like a very celebratory piece, that it's very rhythmic, but at the same time it's just like like a pop song of the day.
Yeah. And the church historically has been a center for music education. So when the whole missions were starting or were being established, the students, the students that were part of the choir were being taught all of this music.
I wanted to ask you what it's like to be at the forefront of what I look at as a change in the canon of classical music. It's been incredible to watch the evolution of what's being featured on our concerts. And I'm not sure that a program like this would have been possible, either because of lack of scholarship or just that it wasn't what people were expecting. We had years and years, decades of messiahs and Christmas oratorios and things like that were just what you did. And all of these other ways to celebrate musically and conceptually had been relegated to the files of the unknown. So how exciting is it for you to be able to perform things that are in your native tongue, that are sort of undiscovered, and that you get to put your stamp on as artists?
Well, it's a huge reason for pride, right? And a huge responsibility too. But I am very, very glad to be showcasing this beautiful repertoire. Other people have done it, but it's not as popular as other things, as you have said. And I think it's something that needs to happen. There's still so much repertoire that hasn't been discovered yet, and so much repertoire that needs to be, brought, to bring out, to more audiences, because it's beautiful. And I think it's great that we can shift our vision, right, into, I mean, some people call it decolonize, like classical music or Latin American or Baroque music. And it's in part of it, it's like a lot to do with that, right? Like we tend to see, like, oh, I mean, of course, like the greatest composers of the time, right? Like, and enjoy their works. But there was also so much music and so many more composers that were doing wonderful things that are also so different and so unique. And so I think it's an important task. It's a great mission to have and a great responsibility, but also it's just wonderful, especially, you said, singing in our native languages. I think, to me, it's also very special, bringing, like, being a singer that does early music and then now doing it in my own language has a special meaning, right? And the opportunity to bring our own flavor to it.
I think that it's really wonderful that in a bigger scale, organizations are actually taking the time and putting the effort to actually finding these, because I find that it's not so much that we want to just program these pieces. I think that it's what people know and what it's most comfortable and what it's just like, okay, we know these. These are the favorites. They're the hits. Let's do this. But it takes time to research and to find the repertoire and to study the repertoire and to learn the style and all that stuff. So I think that, well, I'm very grateful that Ars Lyrica is featuring this music. Even for us, citizens from Latin America that come from Latin America, the canon has been always the same too, because it's been all throughout the world. It's not that because we come from Latin America, we know more Latin American composers, because we don't, you know. So it's a wonderful opportunity. It's an honor to be able to perform this stuff. And then with my wonderful colleague Ceci, to be together as a team, and with a team that we have of amazing musicians with Ars Lyrica, it's going to be such a fun experience. Really fun.
It's been such a pleasure to watch you guys evolve on the stage with each other in your own careers. We cannot wait to hear both of you for Crossing Borders. And also, I'm sure people will be having a look back through our archived recordings to catch a glimpse of you two together on stage last year and in your very first performance together. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you for Crossing Borders.